Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk. We are live in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. We're presented by Intrastate Pest and Service Companies and the Yes Team Realtors. Today's show, another roundtable put together by the distinguished gentleman. Judah Wickhauer's the director. If you could, the studio camera, my friend, and let's welcome the distinguished gentleman to the show, Keith Smith of the Yes Team Realtors. Good Tuesday morning.
Good Tuesday morning, sir. I'm looking forward to today. You know, we've got to my right and to your left a couple of rock stars in the industry, and the reason I wanted to bring them in today was personally to learn a little bit more about what the Women's Councils of Realtors, and I'll see if I got that Realtor thing out right. I keep on swallowing that R, but I didn't, did I?
Women's Council of the Blue Ridge, right?
Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
Realtors Blue Ridge, yes.
Yeah.
So we got Amanda Spigone, who's the current president, and then let's see if I get this right. We got Kristen Sorokti.
Close.
He's getting closer, Kristen. He's getting closer.
You know, it's
You
Smith.
get an A for,
It's Smith. What was your maiden name?
O'Connell.
O'Connell. See, I could
Very
do that.
Irish. I know.
That's easy.
I know. Make it
easy.
difficult.
Why don't we start with Kristen? Let's get Kristen and Amanda on camera here. We'll go Hollywood Squares. You'll see it on screen here.
love it.
Kristen, you first.
Yeah.
How about a little info on you
Yeah.
before we talk real estate?
Thank you. Yes, I'm Kristin Sorokti. I am a realtor with Story House Real Estate, and I have been doing this for 3 years now, and I actually started with Sasha Tripp, who is a rock star.
She is.
And I am a buyer agent on our team. So our team is set up a little bit different. We're a boutique brokerage firm here, so Sasha's our listing agent, and then we have 5 buyer agents, and I love it. It's a little crazy right now for buyers in this market, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, I've been in Charlottesville for almost 17 years. I'm raising 2 teenagers here, and my husband is a firefighter here in the city. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love it. It's going to be a good show. Amanda Spigone and I go 15, 16 years back. Same with Rick Spigone, her dad, Laura Spigone, her sister, Joanna Spigone, her other sister. Her mom is absolutely amazing as well. I'm a huge fan of the Spigone family, if you can't tell. Amanda, before we talk shop, how about a little tidbit on you, the lady?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Charlottesville. I'm a second-generation real estate broker. My dad, obviously, knows Jerry from back in the day when he was the marketing director for the villas at Southern Ridge.
That's right.
Where Jerry, I think, bought his first house.
That's right.
And I started with him as his assistant. Basically, I was a copy girl. I stood in front of the copy machine and made copies of floor plans, and moved into being on sales teams with him. I did a stint in property management, and about 3 years ago, I came back, joined Keller Williams, and am an associate broker with them, selling real estate, doing what I love, my first love. So glad to be back.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
I didn't realize that both of you are 3 years in the
I
game.
know.
I did not know that.
Well, I've had my license
Yeah.
since 1999
Yeah.
to date me.
Yeah.
I've had my license a long time.
So we're here to talk about the Women's Council of Realtors. So I want to read the mission statement because the mission statement is pretty cool. And then Amanda, if you can pick it up from there and
Sure.
tell us what you guys are about and moving forward. But their mission statement is that we are a network of successful realtors advancing women as business leaders in the industry and in the communities we serve. And I've underlined communities we serve. So I just wanted to kind of turn it over to you and tell us a little bit, as the president, a little bit as what the Women's Council of Realtors is and what you do for us.
Certainly. So we were started about 80 years ago as a affiliate of the National Association of Realtors, back when women were not allowed to participate in association and board meetings. We were started as a separate group to empower women since I believe I don't know what the current statistics are, but it's pretty high, but over half of all 62% of all realtors are women. And so this is an organization. The idea behind it is we do leadership training and help grow leaders. Our tagline is Leaders Made Here. And basically we help develop leaders. We do business meetings to create avenues for realtors to become more successful in their business, both within their business and then also as community members at large. If they need to, it's a kind of a unofficial, smaller group kind of idea that we can grow a leader and maybe not be as intimidated if they're just getting started in their leadership journey.
I didn't do the math, but I believe 80 years back is 1938. I may be wrong.
Correct. 1938.
But just think about that, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Kristen. 6 women, I think it was, or 9 women, I can't remember, stood up in 1938 and went, right?
Right.
And just imagine, as 2 rock star females and women in the business, could you just imagine what it must have been like to operate in 1938 and under that you could not participate in the car board, which I sit on, which, now that I think about it, I think most of them are females, now that I think about it,
right,
on that end of it. So take, just kind of take it from there and run with it and see where you
Yeah,
want
I mean,
to go.
that's a great point. I really am grateful for all those women back in the day who have paved this path for us, because I know it was probably a very hard journey for them, and I can't even imagine. And, I think the thing I love most about this Women's Council is kind of the shared values that we have. We really, value professionalism and integrity. I love that we focus on collaboration. So we really try to support each other. We try to help each other grow professionally, personally, help each other meet our goals. And obviously the best part of our membership is just the leadership potential. So really trying to help grow leaders, help you grow your leadership skills. We do have a kind of a program, Performance Network Management, that allows our members to enhance their business skills, really learn about negotiating, which we have to do even harder now in this market. Really, just try to enhance and increase your business. So there's so many great things about Women's Council, and I have to share how I found Women's Council.
Please.
So I, of course, have been with Sasha with Story House since the beginning. I was doing operations and helping her with business development, and she saw the Realtor in me long before I did, which was great, and I'm so thankful for her to this day, because I love what I do. I really do.
I can tell.
So I had just gotten my license, and I got an email of, why should you do a home inspection? And of course, when you're a brand new agent, you're like, why should you do a home inspection? So I went to the Women's Council, the Blue Ridge Network's meeting, and met all these amazing, lovely people who literally just took me under their wing, and that made a difference for me. And that's when I just got hooked, and I was like, this is a great group. It's a large community of realtors here in Charlottesville, and to be able to come into this group and feel like I've got some support. Obviously I've got great support with my team, but it's so nice to have support from all these other women in the community, and to get to know them, and knowing them makes a transaction way better when you finally do have a transaction together, because it's a personal connection. It's not just the person on the phone or on the other side of the email. It's a real, true connection with these people. So I'm so blessed. I love that I'm a part of this, and I'm very excited to be president-elect. Excited to be president. It's going to be a lot of work. But no, it's great. It's been great.
So Amanda.
I'm excited to hand the reins over.
How about now?
Sooner rather than later. No, I totally agree. That's part of what I had, like I said, I had done a stint in property management and had really gotten out of the industry of selling and buying real estate, and was no longer a member of CAR. So when I joined CAR again, I wanted to be involved in something. So I went to one of the meetings, and it was the same. I got the same sort of experience that Kristen did, in that it was such a welcoming sort of embrace, and kind of a. It just wasn't overwhelming. It was a nice, easy way to ease into being involved, and so I was involved. I got involved that way, and that I totally agree with Kristen in that the friends I have made that work for other companies makes a transaction that much easier. When you can pick up the phone and say, hey, Kristen, I know my buyer might be being unreasonable, because we realtors have never dealt with that. It makes it so much easier to have somebody on the other side who's like, yeah, I know you. That request may be outrageous, but, let's see what we can do to work it out and to figure things out and to help meet in the middle. Having that connection with other agents in the area is priceless.
Quick question.
Sure.
Men are allowed, right?
Oh, for sure.
So that's an important thing to get out.
It is. We are definitely. We would love to have members. Actually, we have in the state. We have next year. Kristen will have another president within the state of Virginia who is a male.
Nice.
He's out of the Hampton Roads area. But yes, men are allowed. I think we're made up at 10% of our membership is male. So we welcome we welcome men. They provide a perspective that we can't get. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we would love to have more men in our network as well as nationally. I think there's something to be said to being inclusive of all genders and all different types of people and.
Well, that's the reason I brought it up.
Yeah.
Really, because I think in today's world, I was going to say something silly like "Viva la difference," but I won't. But in today's world, it's important to have a diverse approach.
Right.
How many females in car? How many males in car? What's the breakdown?
I don't know the exact statistics, but I do know it's more female than men.
More female agents.
There are more female realtors in car. I'm almost positive.
If I was to venture, I'd say it's pretty close to the national average, somewhere
Right.
in the 60 to 70% range.
Yeah, females to guys.
Yeah, I would say. I'm trying to think of the deals we're running right now. Almost every one of them has a female on the other side.
When do you think that switched? When did the scales of
great
justice
question.
go more women than guys?
Well, for real estate,
Yeah.
I think it became
Because when your dad got in the game, it was not the case.
no.
I remember
no.
him telling me stories.
Yeah, I think it became an option for women because of the flexible schedule.
Right.
I think when working full time, if they had it's a second career choice for a lot of people. They maybe started in a different industry and it was a way to make money and have more flexibility, or they had children and they wanted the flexibility. I mean, that's something that I remember growing up with my dad having been in real estate is I was always able to count on him to show up for my he was always my field trip chaperone. He was always at all my sporting events. He always made time for me and my sisters. And my mom was a school teacher, and while she was at as much as she could be, she was tied to a school,
right.
All day long. So it was always the flexibility of real estate's appealing, I think, to a lot of women.
So I want to go back to networking, because
Yeah.
networking is super important, and we kind of covered we're diverse, right? We're only 10%. I'll try to help fix that by joining.
Oh, we would love that.
Get that percentage rate up a little bit on it. But that was literally a question I asked my wife this morning. I said, geez, I wonder if men are allowed, because I really, prior to this interview, I knew very little bit about the Women's Council of Realtors. So I guess I'll have to join now,
Right.
since I just opened up
Awesome.
my big mouth on that end
I'll
of
be
it.
contacting you after this.
Got it, Madam President-elect. But
Tiffany, you hear us?
we'll bow. But networking is so important in our business, right? And there's a term called co-brokerage, right?
Right.
And for those who are not in the field, this is what's put out into the MLS, that we will co-broke a percentage, or we will co-broke a fee to the other side. And it's this networking opportunities is so important to getting the deal done, right? To taking care of the client. We talk about this all the time. None of what we do in this room is transactional. Everything that we do in this room is relational to do that. So kind of talk a little bit more how important networking is, because when I read this, it was the two things I took away from it was building leaders, which is what you two folks are, and then the second one was the networking opportunities.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to talk about that. Networking was fabulous before COVID. We had meetings every month. We were in person. We were gathering. It was just very different, very personable. We have gotten very creative during COVID, and we now, of course, have all of our meetings on Zoom, but it really is still so impactful to just even be on these Zoom meetings with people and networking with your professional realtors here in our community. But the nice thing about Women's Council is it's not just about the Blue Ridge, it is about all the other networks that we have in Virginia, and you can attend all these different network events at all the different networks, whether it's Fredericksburg or you want to attend something in the Tidewater area. That's what's so great, is you've got this potential to meet all these amazing people in the community. So when you do have a buyer who is trying to leave Charlottesville and going somewhere else, like, you have an immediate referral network, which is really important in the realtor world, because we want to send our people to others that we trust, that we know they're going to take care of them, and just sharing the same values as Women's Council, we know they're going to be taken care of. And I have personally been able to do that in my membership, that I reach out to other Women's Council Realtors members and ask them if they can help me with some of my buyers. So it's a great, great potential. We are definitely excited to meet in person, hopefully very soon, because that's where it's really powerful, is just making those personal connections with our members.
So I just wanted to add a little personal comment to that about how important networks are. You're talking about it from a client perspective. Yona, this morning, we need a tree surgeon, and we reached out to our different networks, and an unrelated brokerage that's not part of our brokerage reached out and said this was the person. And that's what makes the difference. That's what these relationships and these networkings make a difference. And we found a tree surgeon that's going to show up today, and of course we're closing in a couple of days, that kind of stuff. So networks are so important to do that. I'm going to twist it around a little bit. You mentioned you're a buyer's agent. I'm going to kind of walk a little bit away from Women's Council's Realtors. So let's talk about how hard that is right now. Let's talk about
the market.
Let's talk about the market.
Yeah, I want to talk market,
It's
ladies.
so fun.
He loves the market. So I think we've done the women counselors, and now it's
market.
So we've checked that box. So now it's time to have fun, guys.
Let's talk about our hair on fire.
Yeah.
All day.
All right, how about open-ended? Why don't you start, and then Amanda,
Oh,
you
my
jump
goodness.
in here.
Okay.
How's the market?
I just have to share. So the market's strong. We're very lucky. The market is really tough for buyers. We have just way more buyers than actual houses on the market. So, of course, people hear that I'm a buyer agent, and they're like, oh, that's got to be really tough, Kristen. And I'm like, it is tough. And it's also tough for sellers. Like, everybody is just dealing with this bidding war situation we're in. So my job as a buyer agent is, how can I make this as stress-free as possible, try to have some fun during the process, but also just really trying to help them be as competitive as possible, and while also protecting them. So it's been a little tough for buyers, because everyone's kind of expecting buyers to just give everything they can in this market if they want to find a house. So, every buyer is different in this market. Some people really need to find a house, so we're going to be really aggressive and try to make them as competitive as possible. Some people might have some flexibility, and I say, wait it out. Let's, just stay in your rental, try to see if this market is going to stabilize a little bit, because I will share, I won't lie, I won't sugarcoat it, it's very stressful. So, but we are finding people homes, which is the great news. There are homes out there, and homes are being listed every day, so that is great news. It's just something we have not seen before. And while I've only been doing this for 3 years, I keep hearing from people who've been doing this 15 years, like, we have not seen this. This intense.
Try 35 years.
Okay. So, it's just a very interesting year. No one could have predicted this ever. I don't think we would have predicted this last year, because last year the market was surprisingly strong during COVID. So, it's just about evolving and trying to figure out how to put your best foot forward as a buyer, because that's all you can do in this market. So it's been a ride.
Well done.
What do you think, Amanda?
To say the least.
I agree. The other thing I work with sellers as well, and I think it's tough on sellers too, and preparing for multiple offers, and knowing pricing correctly, not being too aggressive, not being greedy, where things are selling. I think it's overall, this market has made our job that much more important, but also that much more difficult. We have to do a lot more. We have to be very aware of what's going on down the street, next door, 2 towns over. I went back to the networking thing from the Women's Council just really quick. Something that I participate in as the president. I have a monthly meeting with about 10 presidents from around the country the first Monday of every month. We talk about Women's Council, but honestly, a lot of the times our conversation just gets to the real estate market and the battles and the things that we're all facing in this market. And it's interesting to hear that the same obstacles we have here in Charlottesville are obstacles they have in Scottsdale, Arizona, for example. And so hearing that is reassuring as well. Just that we're not dealing with
It's not unique to us.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear those kind of things, and but it's a difficult market out there. It's tough.
We had Yona on a couple of Fridays ago, and she said something that Jerry was taken back a little bit about how much stress it is on the sellers. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the buyer's end of it. Talk a little bit about that. Yona and I kind of explained it a little bit, but there, when you sit down with a seller and you have 12 offers that are similar, how do you do this? Walk us through that, because at the end of the day, we're all relationship building folks.
Right. So really, it's a matter of I create a spreadsheet, and you take out any sort of and it comes down to price, financing, down payment, earnest money deposit, closing date, other contingencies that may be a part of an offer, home inspection, appraisal, all of those kind of things, and it's looking at the whole picture, and it is about relationships, and it's about knowing what your client's motivation, particularly for sellers, what their motivation is for selling. Are they selling because they have to? Because maybe they took forbearance for a couple of months last year, and now they're, COVID's still hurting their income, and they have equity in their house, so they need to sell, or it is, they're moving, they've been relocated for a job, or they want something different, a different type of property, moving out of the suburbs into the country, whatever the case may be. Knowing the motivations helps in that presenting of multiple offers, I think, and knowing what the motivations of all the parties involved are.
Ann Burrows has got a comment for the ladies. Ann Burrows says, you guys are crushing it. Amanda and Kristen, make sure to talk about the benefits of the close relationship with our strategic partners as well.
Yes.
That's a hint from Ann.
That was a hint from
Well,
Ann. And Ann is the past president, so she was president last year, and boy, did she do an incredible job of pivoting our organization and our meetings and helping us have great, thoughtful business building meetings last year, I thought. But anyway, yes, we have strategic partners that help us. We're Craig Builders, Southern Development, Atlantic Bay Mortgage. Tiffany Jenkins actually is our membership director, so she will definitely be reaching out to you, Keith. And Tammy Wilt, also with Atlantic Bay. All of them at Atlantic Bay are awesome. Rose Dahmer with Home Warranty, Inc. Help me out, Kristen. I'm drawing a blank.
I wish I should have our list.
I know. I didn't bring the list. Sorry,
but
guys.
I think what the points Ann's trying to make, the partnerships, the networking,
networking and the relationships that we have with the people that we are our strategic partners certainly helps us when we're thinking about who to send our clients to for whatever the case may be, a home warranty or mortgage lending, all of that. Definitely having a relationship and having somebody on the other end of the phone to say, hey, I'm sending you this first-time buyer. They're super nervous. Can you help them, get pre-approved and help them on the mortgage end of the process?
Amanda Lamone's watching from Stanley Martin. You're getting props from Cara Shandison. She says, Kristen, an amazing contributor to our community and a master at marketing and building relationships. That's high praise coming from her.
Thank you. That is.
Yeah,
I
because
appreciate
she embodies
that.
those qualities as well. So how about this question? What do we need to do to get a stabilized market? Is it increased interest rates? Is it, obviously it's adding more inventory to this ecosystem. Maybe rising rates is good for balancing out this market a little bit more. How long are we going to be in this frenzy, and what do we need to balance this market, Kristen?
So those are all really good questions, and I wish I had my crystal ball with me here today. But I think we will see, and I don't know if this is true, but what we talk about and what we hear, I think we will see a little bit of pushback from buyers. For example, I do have a few buyers who have said, you know what, I just can't play in this market. It's just too much, it's too stressful. I'm not willing to pay this much more for a house that it may not appraise, it may not be worth this. Could I actually get this money back? So I think we will see this. It's happening at least with me. I have heard that we are probably going to be in this for a good 8 months. You know, we're really hoping by fall, maybe it will stabilize. These are all they're just hard to answer because we just don't know.
Sure.
But I think, yes, the interest rates being what they are is great for buyers, but this market is just tough to take advantage of that. So
inventory is creeping up.
Yeah.
It's anemic, but it is creeping
Snail
up.
space.
So it is part of this seasonal process, right? We normally see the poking up a little bit, but the pendings are still like a 2-to-1 ratio, right? So it's just still changing that a little bit. So Amanda, I want to go back to the seller's component on that end of it. And this is just one professional speaking to another. When they are all exactly the same, because literally that's what's happening now, how do you navigate that with your client? I mean, you have your spreadsheet. How do you walk a client through that? That is the flip side of it is the buyers are saying, I don't want to do this anymore. The sellers are saying, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore.
Why would the seller say, I mean, I understand the seller may have to stay in a hotel room for a few days and has to have the dubious distinction of navigating a multiple offer scenario. Okay.
And moving twice.
But there are good things for sellers in the grand scheme of things.
I don't disagree with you, and that's the reason I'm asking Amanda that. I think it's an emotional thing. They just so burnt out, they just don't want to deal with it.
Because the flip side of the coin for the seller is a lot crappier than what it is right now.
Right.
Is that not true?
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Particularly in an instance of where they have to sell. If it's in a have to sell situation, and you're carrying your house, a closing on the 15th of one month versus the 1st of the month, can make a huge financial impact. I mean, it's the carrying costs alone. If they're all the same, it is a hard way to navigate, and you have to sit down and just come up with the best, easiest, most fair solution, which can be very difficult. I mean, sometimes it comes down to first one in.
But I guess
if they're all exactly the same, it's so it
First
can be
offer in?
First offer in. I mean, it can be as granular as that.
Sure.
I think to what Kristen was saying too, I think, predicting when the market's going to turn, we've never been exactly here before. When we had before the housing crisis in 2006, back actually, Jerry, when I met you.
Yeah. When I was buying in phase one of the Southern
seriously,
Ridge. Yeah.
When we were back in those days, I mean, there was the financial element of it that was that we don't have so much in this. We do not have the regulation. They put regulations in place to prevent the financial crisis, part of the housing market crisis. Real estate's cyclical. It happens in cycles, but I don't know that we've ever been exactly in this kind of a market with this low of inventory, and it's national. With the interest rates as great as they are, to answer to your point, Keith, of raising interest rates, is that the solution? maybe.
I think that's
And
part
you
of the
know,
solution.
when I bought my first house, my interest rate was like 8%, and
Yeah.
it was really good.
Yeah. What's yours first? Was like 18 and change, right? My
gosh.
first was 6 and an 8 at the Villas.
Right.
So I was like, that's damn good.
Right.
My-
So talking about my dad, my mom and dad bought the first house that they bought. The reason they bought it was because it was a VA assumable loan
Yep.
at 10%.
What was yours? Yours was 18 plus, right?
18% on 150 buy.
But
Just think about that, guys.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And I was happy to get it.
Yeah.
So an 8% loan, now people would be like, oh my God, but that was a great rate then.
Well-
So,
It's all relative.
It's all relative. It is all relative.
So 2006, and we talk about this all the time,
Yeah.
this cup of coffee could have bought a house.
Right.
What we're dealing with now is not that we had structural problems with
Right.
it. This is, to quote Dr. Yoon, the chief economist for NAR, this is a supply problem. And
Right.
we've been talking about this whole month of May on how do we increase supply. And as everybody knows, I'm a recovering developer and builder, and building is one of the solutions to it. But I think you're 100% right. It's different things. Interest rate's going to have to go up a little bit. But
More inventory, more building permits, more lots come on the market.
More of
The footprint
everything.
expands.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point with the new builds. I have more new build clients than I ever have before, because you get to a point where they are just not finding what they really need in a resale, and so that is our option, and it's a great option, but that also too has its challenges, because there is still limited new builds, and it's very expensive right now with the increased cost of building materials and lumber. So yes, it's a solution, or it's a possible solution for certain people, but again, it also, has its challenges.
Well,
So
it's-
does this go into 2023 then?
yeah.
This goes into summer of next year?
I don't think anybody can predict how long it goes. I mean, I think it's going to be what does the Biden administration do with interest rate, or the Fed do with interest rates?
Well,
and
let's talk about-
and the Biden administration, they were talking about doing the debt forgiveness, and that's been for a long time. Student loan debt has been a hindrance to the millennial market being able to buy in the real estate industry, or to be able to buy in the real estate market. So you have, if they could do loan forgiveness, and then you open people up to their debt to income ratios, get better, and they're able to purchase, that opens up a whole new can of worms as far as the real estate market's concerned, and lack of inventory and driving the prices up. And Charlottesville's always been a desirable place to
Popular.
live. We've always been on top of lists of places to live, and to Keith's point, I remember when when my dad was starting Forest Lakes, and it was a trailer, and as I would characterize them, vision boards.
When was that? What year was that?
1987.
Wow.
So I was a little kid. I was a
remember
kid,
that.
and 87, 88, and I was a kid, and I remember him coming home being stressed out because the Board of Supervisors were saying that'll never work. People, the real estate community was saying that'll never work, that'll never sell.
Why? Because it was too far from town?
Well, it was outside,
Now look at it.
Hollymead was way out.
Yeah.
We lived in Woodbrook. I lived in Woodbrook I moved around Albemarle County a lot, but I lived in Woodbrook for a period of time, and it was like Charlottesville stopped at Woodbrook. It was Texaco then, that's now the Core Brothers, but that was like the end of town, and Hollymead was way out. So you see this growth, and you see these communities that come online, and people say that they're not going to work, or people aren't going to buy them, and sure enough, they're going to be people that come and want that type
I've been
of
there and done that back in
communities.
Fluvanna County, trying to sell $40,000 lots in Lake Monticello. Then you
Right.
could buy lots for 5 or 6. Actually, the thing that worked the best, we had a hot dog truck, and we would have hot dogs every weekend. I swear to God.
I believe
Well,
you.
And people would come for their Sunday afternoon thing, and
I have
it worked.
friends that remember when Forest Lakes first started. My dad put on an event for Forest Lakes, and they had the trolleys that
Oh,
took
yeah.
you around to the different,
Oh,
because there
yeah.
were only 4 neighborhoods within the Forest Lakes community at the time, and so they were different price ranges, the different different areas, and they had a trolley, and then they had like food up at the clubhouse, and the pool was open with the water slide. And I have friends now that are in their 40s that remember back to that day, like to that weekend. What a great marketing event, one, but two, it was so much fun. And at that point, we weren't living in Forest Lakes, and they had to do some convincing to get me to go out there because we lived out in Ivy at that time.
I remember when we got sales up and we stopped doing it.
Awesome.
Everybody was pissed.
Right, right.
My hot dog.
Well, I remember back
It's true.
before the housing crisis, they gave away flat screen TVs at Realtor broker opens.
Oh.
Wow.
Like it was like if you were a real, but to get people like out and about, and the marketing and stuff was crazy.
Well, I was just thinking. You said you were a kid in '87, and I just thought about myself and my age. Let's go back to buyers for a minute. Yona and Kristen, Yona and I were having this conversation over the weekend, and we constantly talk real estate. Is what we do, right? Are you starting to see more buyers coming from outside the in? We were having this debate. Are we seeing lateral moves? Are we seeing people moving from Lake Monticello to Charlottesville? Or are most of your buyers coming from outside in? I'll tell you what we're seeing. I'd love to see what your approach is.
Yeah, I will share. Again, I have more out-of-town buyers than I have ever had before.
Okay.
What percentage of your buyer base?
Probably 50%,
Dang.
maybe more. So, these buyers, they are getting jobs, thank goodness, in Charlottesville. I have several at at UVA. They also are coming from California, where prices are, we think it's expensive here. It's very expensive. And so I'm seeing people from all over coming to Charlottesville for different reasons, for relocation, but also retiring. People don't want to be in those other larger cities anymore. I also am seeing people that need a different floor plan because no one knows what is happening. I think even people that are working from home and still going into the office a few days a week, they have the flexibility to work from home now. So they are looking for places. I think most of my buyers are looking for a place that at least has an office space. And that's very different than what we used to see.
And broadband for sure.
Yes.
Broadband internet.
Fiber optic.
Yeah.
Where's the fiber optic?
Right.
Yep.
Thank goodness for all those companies coming into the more rural areas. And that's another thing. A lot of people can live in these rural areas that they have never been able to before because these fiber optic companies are coming into those areas. So that's opening up some of their options. I have clients who have jobs in DC and they can live out here in the country now because they found a house with fiber optic. So I think the business model is changing for a lot of people, and I think that's really driving their need to find different homes because what they have now is not working anymore for them. And of course, kids in school virtually still, that's just a whole layer of
That's a different
challenge.
show altogether.
Yeah, invite me to that one, please.
We'll have to. I made a note.
Teenagers.
I
I'm
made a
sure
note.
she has
Teenagers,
opinions on this.
virtual world.
And so do you.
I totally agree. I had a buyer consult last night, as a matter of fact, and she's moving here from New York City, and
Keeping her job?
keeping her job,
Wow.
and she basically is determined that she's not going to probably have to go back into the office ever. So she is keeping her job. So she came to Charlottesville kind of as a temporary thing, and is now thinking about staying here long term because she loves the beauty of it and
She's
and
buying
loves
a
the
house?
area. She's thinking about buying a house. She hasn't decided. We're still working through. It was an initial consult last night, but and then I had two other buyers that I'm working with that it's Northern Virginia that they're looking to relocate here because kids are going off to college and they can work remotely, and as long as it has the broadband internet, they want the farm and the ability to do virtual school or if that's necessary for their lifestyle, but they want the land and the beauty of the area. So
Why I
definitely
love
that.
these round tables and why I love having expert realtors on the other side of that is I get to ask you questions I get asked all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So has COVID changed the real estate market forever?
There you go. Good question.
I'm just quite people asking
I
me.
like it.
I want them to answer it.
That's great.
I do. Yes. But
How so?
My bottom line answer is yes. I think that, I think that people are reconsidering long term because we don't know, we've never been through a pandemic before. So, we went through this sort of shutdown type of time, and I think it changed the way people do real estate. I think thinking about buying a house, because we all knew that it was trending towards everything started online, but I think now it's even more so as they're starting online. They're looking for the right place online, and it's not so much seeing it. I've had people make offers on listings before that sight unseen, which is crazy.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
But people are doing that, and that's more of a trend than we ever really thought it would be before.
Are we talking 30-year mortgage sight unseen
30-year,
or cash?
no,
or cash
back in the villas, I had 30-year mortgage, and then I've had cash as well. But yeah, it's
we're seeing cash unseen.
That is nuts.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's a crazy time, and I just don't know that we'll ever revert back. And I think, in general, life in general will never go back to completely the way it was before. And I think I don't see it going back completely to the way it was before.
But sight unseen really isn't sight unseen.
Well, because
like
of the
it used
virtual
to,
tour.
right? And
Yeah.
what did
Digital curbside, digital curb appeal.
digital curb appeal. So
Yeah.
you
Sure.
get to do these via FaceTime, and they become, it's different than it was.
Still paying $500,000 for something you haven't walked into.
Yeah,
It's
try
hard for
raising
me-
that
It's
number.
hard for me to walk my mind around that,
Yeah.
wrap my mind around it. It just is. Neil Williamson has got a comment for everybody. Quentin Beckham has given you props. He says, excellent agents here, strong professionals, fantastic roundtable. Neil Williamson has this comment from the Free Enterprise Forum from Forbes magazine for the roundtable. This is from Forbes magazine. Rates are more likely to rise than fall, but it will be an inconsequential move, says Lawrence Yoon, chief economist at NAR, National Association of Realtors. The growing economy will raise the mortgage rate to around 3.1%, which is still near historic lows. Although a few percentage points is not a shocking jump, it can add hundreds of dollars to monthly mortgage payments and tens of thousands of dollars to the total cost of the loan. This is another question for both of you guys. Why don't we start with you, Kristen?
Yeah.
This is an open-ended question, and it's from Laura, who watches the show all the time. Why not just let the market play out and allow marketplace dynamics to figure themselves out?
And I think that's what a lot of the buyers are doing. I think that they are trying to let this market play out, the ones who really don't need to buy right now. A lot of the buyers, though, are worried about the interest rate increasing, which is actually putting more pressure on them to buy right now. So even the ones that really don't want to play in this market, which I don't blame them, they're afraid what the interest rate will be in the fall. Yes, 3.1%, that's phenomenal still. But when you're used to 2.5, that's a big difference. So I think, yes, it will probably naturally play itself out, but right now we just have so many more buyers than we have inventory. And I think we are also seeing more people trying to come to Charlottesville. So it's not just about low inventory. We have more buyers that are coming from other places that need to move. So I think that is definitely part of this challenge that we're seeing.
8 out of 10 of our buyers are coming from outside.
That's bananas.
That's a lot.
8 out of 10.
With bags of money after selling their house somewhere else?
That's exactly right.
And are they able to work remotely via an ISP at a big city job?
That's the buyer profile.
Then how can Central Virginia accommodate this with no inventory and a surplus of additional buyers from outside the market?
So
this is not going to be resolved anytime soon.
The market is playing out. That's what we're having the conversation about. And I think what we're trying to do is trying to forecast a little bit. But to go back to Dr. Yoon's comment and to go back to Neil Williams' comment, as interest rates climb up, you'll start seeing a little bit of stabilization of price increase, right? So it'll kind of balance itself off a little bit. most buyers, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, because you deal with buyers more than, exclusively. Most buyers aren't really the interest rate kind of freaks them out a little bit, but what they really want to know is what their monthly payment is, right?
Sure.
They're buying how much house they can afford,
Yeah.
right? So as the interest rates may climb just a fraction of a point, if you start getting these prices to stabilize a little bit.
But if the interest rates climb, let's say they climb half a point to a point.
It's a lot, actually.
It is a lot. But isn't that counterbalanced or superseded by a big bag of money from a townhome in Northern Virginia that's sold for 1.2? The people living in my neighborhood in Glenmore, living across from me, bought a home for $850,000. They sold their townhome that is like 1,600 square feet for $1.2 million. Bought a 5,000 square foot for $850K. Both parents can work from that house. And then they're walking away with this deal with probably what, $250,000?
Yeah, I think the challenge right now that I'm experiencing with buyers are the people who their financials are tight, their price point's lower, they don't necessarily have the funds to escalate, because what we're seeing, of course, with these bidding wars is the housing, the listing price, they are escalating well above the listing price, and now you've got buyers who are really, really nervous, and they should be, because that home might not appraise. So we're really, it's a challenge with the people who really have a tight financial situation, because an appraisal not coming in might be a real devastating thing for them.
But to counterbalance that, to go to Jerry's argument, is they'll just bring cash to make up the difference.
Well, not everybody.
Well, yeah,
the
not
first-time
everyone.
home buyers.
First-time buyer. Well, to go back to Biden's proposal, and Amanda, if you could tackle this, I think I worry about affordability. Always have been worried about affordability. We talk about this on the show all the time. But Biden's proposing, I think it's in the House at the moment, a $15,000 grant to first-time home buyers. And depending on who you talk to, that's like, oh my God, this is only going to make it worse, right? Or
it's going to make it worse. It's going to add more buyers to a marketplace that has limited supply.
So it depends.
It's going to drive the price up.
It depends on the conditions they tie to it, right? So at the moment, the conditions they're talking about is that I think one generation or two generations back, you could never have owned a home.
Right.
And I have to excuse myself because I'm going to sneeze here.
Okay. Amanda Spigone, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I don't know, back to the initial question about letting it play out. I think the letting it play out, that's what we're having to do. I think it's just become more imperative for realtors and for the public service sort of announcements from, NAR and VR and all of the organizations, is to make sure that people are educated and understand the ramifications of buying at, if you're in a multiple offer situation and you have an escalation clause and you're buying a house and the house doesn't appraise, what's your long-term plan? Are you staying there for 10 years? Or, when I first started in real estate, the average home buyer stayed in a house for 7 years.
Yeah.
And that's been extended. It's now grown to like nine to 10 years. So, if you're planning on staying in a house for 3 years or 5 years, knowing what that impact of buying now is going to be in 5 years when you're looking to sell it, and you have to, because your job is moving you, because you know that you're here for a 3 to 5 year stint. So I think the proposal for Biden, I think, would be great for the first-time home buyer. And I, like Kristen, I have a buyer that I've been working with who I've had to tell, maybe now is you need to continue to rent for a while. Wait.
That's got to be tough to hear.
And it's tough because they're excited because it's their first. They finally saved enough for the down payment, but to have to tell them that you're not going to be able to compete if it goes over asking, and then and particularly in the lower end with affordability and that type of thing. When you have somebody that's qualified at $300,000, you have to tell them to be looking in the $250,000 range, and that is a tough pill to swallow because there's not a lot in the $250,000. Now I do know, as Keith's looking at me right now, with the Thomas Jefferson Community Foundation, I think that's a great option, but not everybody qualifies for that.
Sure.
Because there is a ton a big part of the population, and when I did property management, I saw this all the time, is there are people that live paycheck to paycheck, so to speak. They're making ends meet, but they don't have the extra. And so they've saved for the down payment, but they don't have the money for the down payment, or they're just over the minimum income requirements. They make just enough. And it's expensive to live here in general. So you add a kid into the mix, and as a mother of 3, I can tell you, they are not cheap, and they only get more expensive.
Damn kids.
Particularly,
I got a wedding coming up. I want to talk about it.
Particularly when
I don't want to talk about it.
They play travel soccer, and or they play baseball, or they play whatever it may be, whatever activities they may be involved in. It's getting their driver's license. I like Kristen. I have one that'll turn 16 next month, and my insurance rates are out the roof.
I bet.
So you have those people that are working hard, are hardworking people, but just don't have the extra, and it's tough. And then you add, rentals are expensive here as well.
So Sunshine Mathon sat in that seat on Friday, and I believe it was 50% is kind of the normal, the income. I mean, that's according to HUD, I think it's 30% of your income that goes to housing. Most people in that circumstance. So I would encourage both of you guys to watch on the 7th. We're going to have a dear friend of ours, a fellow Marine, him and his wife, and we're actually going to do a live buying presentation to try to talk through, as you said, an interview on what it takes to buy a house these days. Because we had offline the same conversation: should I buy? Should I not buy? Is now the time to do it? And so forth and so on. So we're gonna do it live on the 7th. So either I'm gonna show my stuff or I'm gonna go.
I'm sure you'll do great.
I'm sure he will.
Love it.
Katie Pearl has got a comment for us. Can the roundtable chat about the changes coming to investment property interest rates beginning next week?
Ooh. Explain that a little bit more. I was not aware of that.
That's the question. Can you chat about the changes coming to investment property interest rates beginning next week, from Katie Pearl? Should we table that for another round?
I think we need to, because I'm not aware of that. So
okay.
We should table that.
This one's...
But we're bringing in 2 loan officers on, I can't remember the date, but we'll do a roundtable about that.
There you go. Kathy Yursik? Urick, is that right? Urick. I'm finding more and more people looking to rent due to this market and having difficulty even finding affordable rentals. Multiple folks are asking us to talk about the rental market and how it's going through the roof from a price point standpoint, which seems to be correlated to the home ownership market. You want to tackle that? I mean, that's up your...
I have quite a bit of experience, and I mean, it's tough, and it's, I think one of the things that I think NAR has done that has hopefully will have a bit of an impact on the rental market as well is made it so that source of income cannot be discriminated against. So it is basically, so landlords are having to accept vouchers where perhaps they weren't, housing vouchers from the government where perhaps they weren't before. And it's, but the rental market's tough. I mean, that's one of the things, looking for, as a mom with 3 kids, when I got divorced, I looked at the rental market and trying to find a house in a neighborhood with the schools that I wanted my kids to go to. It was tough. And so I ended up moving in with my parents, and we look at that separating of our households, and it doesn't make any financial sense. So we have a house that works for us, we have a living situation that works for us, and so I do think that there's going to be a move towards like multi-generational housing as well, because I do think that that's becoming more and more of an issue. As you look at particularly in this area, you look at the separating of like me and my kids and my parents, and they need, they're older, so we're getting to where they may need more help
And during COVID.
And during COVID.
You got somebody
correct.
watching the kids
Right.
during the workday.
Right. And, I jokingly, I came down one day and I looked at my dad and said, "You're hired." And he's like, "What do you mean I'm hired?" And I'm like, "You are now the education manager." And he takes it pretty seriously. So he logs on to their grades and knows how they're doing in school.
That's
and
awesome.
is making sure that they're logging in when they're supposed to be logging in. And I mean, it's great. It's great for me, so that I can continue to work and support them. But I do think, as far as the rental rate, I mean, it's looking at all the there's a flood of inventory coming, and it's kind of where are those people coming from that can afford the rents? I mean, you look at
they're coming from your
California.
buyers
Right.
who can't find anything to
Yeah.
buy, and
Right.
they're gobbling up all the rentals.
right and driving rentals
And
up.
we
And I
look-
mean, and you look at rentals, and I mean, it's like $1,400 for a one bedroom.
Right.
We looked at that last weekend with Sunshine and Dan
The
Rosen's.
3-bedroom, 2-bath with a den at the Villas is now getting $1,565 a month rent.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
$1,565 a month
And
rent.
I would tell you that's probably low.
I'm underpriced.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
underpriced.
Everything we've talked about, these are all the reasons why we have this crazy market right now. I've had 3 clients who were looking for rentals because they didn't want to rush to buy,
Sure.
and because they can't find the rentals, now they're feeling like they actually are forced to buy in this market. So, yeah, it's all part of this market.
Well, I'm getting ready to
unfortunately.
bring on a duplex, a side-by-side duplex has tenants in it. It's an investment property, and that is I was looking at the rental rates, and they're getting the rent per market rate. They're getting a deal. Like, if you were to look and compare it to what else is out there, those tenants are getting a deal. But it's like, we don't want to. The owner is like adamant that doesn't want to
Raise the rents?
Doesn't want to sell the property and have to kick the tenants out. He wants them to be able to stay within their lease.
So
that's
you're
like-
selling.
You're selling the leases? The leases convey.
The leases convey.
That's a tough sale.
Not necessarily.
It
Well,
depends on the
who-
tenant
who-
and
It's
the
a
lease
different
and
type
so-
of buyer. It's an investment buyer, which if there's something going on with interest rates, I probably need to investigate
Yeah,
that.
no, Kathy. Is that Kathy that said that?
Well, I just got a long text from Quentin explaining it.
Okay,
so-
okay. I bet I got it too, but my phone's in my purse. But yeah, I think that
So was it getting like $3K a month?
not even that much. It's not even that much.
So what is it, like $1,200 for
It's
each
like
side?
$11.50.
That's awfully
That's
good rate.
That's
Deal.
low.
Yeah.
That is
That's
so
what I'm saying.
low.
That is
it
what
in
I'm saying.
Almar?
I can't
Yeah.
believe I actually said that. but
It's
that's low.
it's in Albemarle, and that's my point, is that it is in Albemarle County, and they've been great tenants. The owner has to sell. It's a have to sell kind of situation, and they don't want to put these tenants out on the street because they can't find anything as nice as what they're renting.
So
What do you think about this comment for you? For you.
Oh.
You guys constantly talk on this show of how expensive it is to be a homeowner in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. You know how expensive it is to be a renter in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. That's a topic for Real Talk. Please put that into your cycle of topics.
got it done. See,
That's
I
a great comment right
I
there.
love this show.
When I was in property management, I managed a community, and as I would have characterized it, it was the top end of the low end. That was how I would characterize the community itself. So it was
The rental market.
the rental market. It was the
Yeah.
top end of the low end of the rental market. So it wasn't like the deluxe apartment communities around, but it wasn't the ones that take Section 8 housing
Yeah.
vouchers and that. So it was like right there, and it was a constant battle of they were trying to make ends meet, and it was one thing could set them back, and it was always a conversation, about raising the rental rates. Like, how far do we go? We could push them, at the time over 1,000, but that would have put so many people out of housing. It's a hard battle, and I know a lot of property management companies in town, particularly the one I worked for and some of the others. Yeah, they really it's a conversation. It's a conversation that's had. It's not taken lightly. It is very much a conversation, but they have to protect the owners too, because they're looking to maximize their investment as well. So it's a fine line.
We had 2 rock stars on Friday in this space, Habitat for Humanity, Piedmont Housing Alliance, and I asked them if I could to go back to this rental question, if we can do a magic wand, what is the 2 things, or actually I said 1 and we ended up with 2, that actually is needed to fix this? And we actually landed on 3. 1 is money, and the reality of it is we have all these buyers coming in, we have all these high-tech companies coming in. These prices are just going to go up. Yeah. I mean, historically, Charlottesville, and I've looked back the numbers for 30, as far as Carr would let us go back, is between 3 to 6%. It just happens year after year. So this year's a little bit higher than that, but year after year it does that. So prices are going to increase. Salaries are not matching, no. Right? At the $1,000 a month, it's not matching end of it. So what's the 2 things? And the one was we've got to get capital in here. If it's government capital, private capital, but money needs to come in and do this. We're doing this on the land trust, this thing at Spring Hill, where we're bringing on 3 units at $243,000. We're contributing $20,000 a unit to get them at that price. If I had another $100,000, we'd lower the price even by $100,000. But we need the capital. The second thing is, and we've been battling about this on the show for the whole month, is we've got to allow this missing middle. We've got to change the zoning to increase density. And the third thing is the red tape, right? These red tapes tend to cost us some money. And I'm kind of on a soapbox at the moment, but I really wanted to throw that out there to let the folks on the feed know we're really trying to tackle this. And do you guys have any thoughts on those 3 topics?
I mean, I think it's a battle that's been had for a long time in this area. I mean, there's no overnight solution. I do agree that having some capital influx to help would be amazing. But it's not something that's new.
I guess I'll try the question a different way. If all those 3 things happen and inventory increased.
It's got to be inventory increases. It's got to be UVA getting more involved. It's got to be, I think, interest rates going up a little bit. It's got to be us be willing to go to some of the outer counties, Waynesboro and the other side of the mountain, especially if we're first-time home buyers. I mean, that's just going to be the reality of what's happening.
Well, number 9 in the country is Harrisonburg, first-time home buyers.
When I started in real estate, going to Waynesboro was not something that
would even be considered.
And it wasn't considered, and it was like the mountain was like this mental block. So people would go to Fluvanna County and in a heartbeat, but like for whatever reason there was a mental block about going over that mountain. I had actually some of my best friends, their first house was on the tree streets in Waynesboro, which is an awesome place.
Amazing.
It's amazing. You drive through the tree streets and you're like, this is like the great, like old 1950s, it's just such a cool place. Anyway, it's funny because that's changed. I think that mental block is starting to go away because I do think that people are seeing that, what a 25-minute drive can get you going outside of the Albemarle County, Charlottesville proper is amazing. There's a lot more bang for your buck. And there was I heard you say the other day, there was the drive till you qualify. I think Quentin has fly till you qualify.
So now we know Amanda watches the show.
I see her watching the show.
I do watch the show.
Yeah, I love when she watches the show.
But I do think that I don't know that there's an overnight one solution fits all.
Right.
That's going to remedy any of the situations. I mean, it's a desirable place to live. I think the University of Virginia attracts people. I think that's also the University of Virginia has helped protect the real estate market to a degree.
For sure.
Because they're always moving people in and moving people out, and
Your dad and me. We went to UVA.
Right, you did.
We actually lived in the same room, Upfine Kappa Psi fraternity, her dad and I.
Yeah.
Obviously very different times.
Yes. Yes.
But we stayed.
Yes.
Because of UVA.
Well,
we loved it.
But my dad went to UVA back when it was before females were admitted. I guess while he was there, they were able to be able to admit it.
Rick played baseball.
And
the team.
And so back then, with no females, the UVA student body tended to date locals.
Yeah.
He met my mom on her
Carol?
her high school graduation from Lane.
No way. So he was in college. And
he was playing.
Your mom was in high school.
And my mom graduated high school, and my dad was playing for the Valley League, playing baseball for the Charlottesville Hornets back in the day.
Wow.
So he was here for the summer, and my mom had her baccalaureate and was set up on a blind date with this guy named Spigone, and the rest is history. I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for that. So
we should run the gauntlet with these ladies.
Ooh, we haven't done that in forever.
No, and I think they would be fantastic.
They would be fun. I just real quick, UVA is in the game. Right, so
I signed up for the thing with Jim Ryan.
Good. That's going to be on the 29th, and Mr. Miller and I are going to tear it apart the next day. So
I think it's awesome that the university's getting involved. I think that they've needed to get involved.
You first.
First thing that comes to mind. You can't think about it.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind. Okay. So we're going to ask you quick hitting questions. We're going to go back and forth. I'll go first. What do you think is the little pocket of Central Virginia that is primed for booming in this real estate market?
I want to say the Valley.
Yeah?
Because
How about Central Virginia and the Valley? So this side of the mountain first.
Oh, I think of Central Virginia as our whole territory, which is really big as a realtor. I do think we will see Fluvanna start to grow because, again, I have clients who, first-time home buyers, they tell me their price point. We start around Charlottesville. We start to creep outside, and they start to find these places in Fluvanna, and they compare them to Charlottesville that you can't even compare anymore at that point. You get so much more home for your money. And then I do see a lot of people wanting to consider Waynesboro and Fishersville and actually Stanton. So I do think the Valley is going to boom.
We've been doing this show for over 2 years, and I've been saying Zion's Crossroads, Fluvanna.
From the beginning.
That would be my response. I would say Zion's Crossroads. I would say, I think Spring Creek is a hidden gem. Mm-hmm. Every time I go out there, I drive through it, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, this is a really nice neighborhood. It's a really nice neighborhood. I think that there's conveniences now. I think that was the big thing. Back when I started in real estate, the Crozet didn't have a grocery store, and that was the big thing about living out. I mean, that's why we moved to Forest Lakes from Ivy, was because it took 15 minutes to get to get a gallon of milk.
Well, that's true. When Yona and I moved to Lake Monticello in 1987,
Food Line wasn't there, right?
We had to drive to Charlottesville to get gas and buy a gallon of milk.
And I think that's and you go to the Valley, and I think Waynesboro and Stanton, you now have conveniences that weren't there before. And you go north of town, I think you have Ruckersville has great potential. Madison has great potential. I think that there's a lot of places that have great potential to boom, and it's starting to be about broadband availability and convenience.
And affordability.
And affordability.
We've been debating this back and forth, Jerry and I, for over 2 years, and when we ask that question, it's kind of what can happen within the next 12 to 24 months. And I've kind of flip-flopped a little bit. I'm kind of more on the Valley side because their infrastructure is so much tighter than our on this side of it. They have the water, they have the broadband.
And they have the inventory.
They have they have the ability to create inventory, but more so, they have some room in the school systems to grow on that end of it. So my question is going to be a little bit funner.
More fun.
A little bit funner.
More
Is that
fun.
a word? Is funner a word?
No.
It's not a...
More fun.
Oh, okay. That's what you were trying to do?
More
But funner is funner.
Funner is funner.
Funner is funner. Well said, Kristen.
Thank you very much.
Kristen, you're a lot of fun. I feel
this
like
has
if it
been
was
so
like a
great.
UVA game and we're at the bar and everyone's having a good time.
Let's do it.
That's perfect.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
So, more fun.
Yeah.
What's your favorite drink?
Oh, there you go.
Ooh. You know, I had a really great gin and tonic. I'm not a big drinker actually, but gin and tonic, I had a great gin and tonic on Friday that I was like, I could become a gin and tonic drinker.
Ooh, tell where.
I was celebrating, I have a childhood friend, it was her small get together for a birthday, so
What gin? Because I'm a gin guy.
I did not make the drink. Somebody made it for
Someone
me,
gave it to
and
you.
I will tell you, I was at somebody's house. It was awesome. It was a great time, but it had a sprig of something in it that I don't even know what the sprig of what it was.
There you
and
go.
It had grapefruit in it.
Did
but
you have,
it was
did you have more than one?
No, I only had one.
Okay.
I had to try it.
Your favorite, Kristen?
But margarita, hands down. Like
Anything wet.
fresh lime juice, like a real margarita. Because I love warm weather, the beach, and that just brings
So
me to
where's
my
your
happy place.
where's your preference of place to get a margarita in Charlottesville?
So I love Bebedero.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Am I
good
allowed
choice.
to shout out some of these?
Oh, yeah. You want to shout them out for sure.
You can do whatever you want.
I do love that. And Continental Divide. And my house. So,
Your house.
yes.
Very nice. Very nice.
I could do a margarita. So we were talking about my cousin Donnie earlier, who was a bartender at Continental
Continental,
Divide.
yeah.
I can do one of his margaritas, hands down, any day of the week. They go down smooth. He definitely has the touch.
Quentin,
We're having our next meeting at your house.
Okay.
Quentin Beckham says summer drinks. Sigh. He just put that in me.
So-
We love QB on this show here.
So I told you, ladies, an hour would go by fast. I just looked at it for
Yeah,
the
it's
first time.
11:30.
It's 11:30.
Wow.
so-
Hour and 15 minutes.
Hour
I don't
Flies
even
by.
want it to stop.
Right,
And
it
here I
flies
was wondering
by.
what we're going to talk
Right?
about.
Yeah.
You were worried.
Brittany Moore is watching. Woo,
Oh,
Kristen.
Brittany.
Orange County's finest. She was a tremendous basketball player.
Oh, Orange County might
Orange
boom.
County High School.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a rock star.
Huge fan of Brittany Moore. This was fantastic. It was fun.
Ladies, thank you. Thank you.
thanks for having
I
us.
love the opportunity to have other real estate agents on the real estate professionals on the other side, so I can ask you questions that I get asked all the time. So thank you so much for
You're very welcome.
for doing this, and you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, for sure.
Super fun.
Thank
Such
you.
a
When,
fun
when we
round.
talk about virtual kids schooling, I'm
Oh,
here.
so you're a pro and you want
I'm
to see
here.
more of it.
You know. I'm
Get
all
them out of the
done.
house
All
and
done.
back into school.
So what's your children's age? I don't think.
They're like almost 14 and 16.
Oh.
True teenagers,
Ooh.
which I love.
Was
They're-
it tough
they're
on them,
fabulous.
the virtual school?
It was rough.
Yeah. Are they as outgoing
Emotionally.
and social as you?
Yeah.
Because you
my
just
daughter
get,
especially.
You thrive on being around people. I can tell.
I do. That's why I'm a buyer agent.
Yeah.
Yona told me
That's,
on the
so much fun.
Yona told me on the way in, because we've never done a transaction, but you've worked with
Yeah.
Yona. She says you're gonna love her.
Yeah, she's awesome.
You
She
too,
is
man.
awesome.
We love you too.
Thank you.
You
she's
guys
awesome
are fantastic.
too. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks
So
for having
fun.
us. Yes.
Keith, well done.
You know, sir, these round tables are awesome, and we're just going to keep on moving along. We got some good ones coming up.
Friday show, quick promo.
Yeah, so Friday's show is going to be the day after this engagement or this announcement from UVA. We have Ned Galloway, the chairman of Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. He's going to chime in for about 15 minutes. He's actually working. And then after that, it's just going to be you and I talking about the announcement and what difference it might make.
Friday, 10:15.
Friday, looking forward to it.
Real Talk. We're presented by Intrastate Pest and Service Companies. Thank you for joining us. We are 59 minutes away from the I Love CVille show.
Who do you have on today?
Alex Irby.
Oh, Alex.
Your buddy.
He's a lot
Huge
of fun.
fan of Alex.
He's a lot of fun to listen
Join
to.
us in 59 minutes, guys. Thank you for joining us on Real Talk. Take care.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank
you so
you.
much.
You guys were fantastic.
Thank you.
Seriously.
That was so fun.
It was so much easier than I thought it was going to be. Because you were like nervous from the get go.